Good morning and welcome. My name is Megan Lancaster and I will be service coordinator today. Today's reflection, let go, let go, let go, will be given by our minister, Reverend Dr. Leon Dunkley. I welcome all of you today, and we, the congregation, welcome most particularly those of you who may be visiting us today. If you are new to North Chapel, consider signing the guest book at the back of the sanctuary. This is also where hearing assistance devices and large print hymnals can be found. One announcement today, a reminder that there is a potluck after church downstairs. This is a chance for us to get together, spend time with old friends, make new ones, and just have some nice social time together. Please, this is also the time to turn off anything that makes noise. So put on silent any phones or any other devices that you might have during our time together. Everybody good? All right. So please stand with me as you are able and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 352, Find the Stillness. My hope as you enter here today is that you can let go, that you can leave the world and your worries outside this door, making our moments together sacrosanct, that you can let go of your smaller day-to-day concerns, that you can set aside the bigger preoccupations, that in this moment with these people, you can truly be here. I encourage you to continually remind yourself you are not alone. The problems and challenges that disquiet you are not yours alone. There are others sitting next to you, others in your community and in the wider world, others who lend a helping hand or a shoulder to lean on. So let go, at least for these moments together. Let go. The burden is not yours alone. Reach deep within, breathe, and let go. As we head into our meditation time, consider planting your feet flat on the floor, shoulders back, hands open, palms up in your lap. Then breathe, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathe, remembering that it is not we who breathe, but the Spirit of life that breathes through us.
Alan Watts was a theologian, a Buddhist philosopher, and he once said that the religious attitude appropriate for our time is not one of clinging to rocks, but one of learning how to swim. He said, if you get into the water and have nothing to hold on to, and you behave as if you would on dry land, you will drown. If, on the other hand, you trust yourself to the water and let go, you will float. This is exactly the situation of faith. There is a singing prayer that tells us not to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. It tells us to let go. It tells us to let go with grace. How can that be possible? Especially for us, we who've grown accustomed to holding on to things with all of our might. The singing prayer begins like this. This is the words. It goes, loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Okay? And it sings like this. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Would you try that with me? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. The second part has a different set of words, and those words are holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? And it goes, holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Good. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. Today is Sunday, May the 19th, and the title of this morning's reflection is Let Go, Let Go, Let Go. It is a beautiful thing to be with you. It is a beautiful thing to be here. To all souls, I say good morning. It is good to be together. This morning's service is about doing the joy-based work. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to let go. Do you remember the name Keith Oberman? I know you do. Keith Oberman, we talked about this at the September 11th service a couple of years ago. Keith Oberman is a sportscaster. He worked for ESPN. He's retired. He retired back in 2017. He's very good at his job. He's familiar to many. On September 11th, Keith was living in New York City, and he told this story. I've shared this story with you once before, about a year and a half ago. But for the sake of recollection, I want to share it again this morning. Now, the towers had fallen down on that Tuesday, and Keith Oberman recalls, and I quote him here, that the following Monday, when they opened Wall Street, the streets were ringed with men with machine guns. There was still smoke pouring out of the pyre of the World Trade Center. After about 4 hours of walking around town, a cop recognized me and said, "How are you, Keith?" I said, I'm all right. I'm all right. How are you? And he said, I am worried. And Keith said, I'm worried too. And the police officer said, I'm worried about the Mets. And Keith sort of snapped out of it and said, you're worried about the Mets? And he said, yeah. Well, the season resumes tonight, and I'm really worried. Do you think they have enough to get back in the pennant race? I mean, can they really catch the Braves? Keith Oberman was stunned, and he said, and here I quote him again, how on earth could that possibly matter? There was smoke coming up from behind us. And the cop says, well, Keith, it doesn't matter. Of course it doesn't matter. I've got 300 friends who are dead. It doesn't matter. And then he says, but tonight it's 7 o'clock, and all day for the rest of the day, I can look forward to 7 o'clock when I can put my feet up and I can pretend that it matters. These two men were able to loosen in that moment. This morning's service is about doing the joy-based work of loosening. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. St. Augustine believed that we who sing pray twice. The act of singing can be a joy-based act. The choice to sing is a joy-based decision, whether we choose to let our voices rise or not. There are many ways of singing, there are many ways of joining the song, and we can do it all in a joy-based way. The decision to sing in a joy-based way seems to me to be a holy decision. In seminary, we refer to this kind of choice as a life-giving, life-affirming choice. Sometimes we call it a light-filled decision. And that language comes to us from the Hebrew Bible, from the book of Genesis. When God began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos and darkness, and it covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. I love that image, a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. The name of that wind was Ruach. Ruach is the Hebrew word, Ruach I always say this wrong. HaKodesh, is that right? Ruach HaKodesh. It translates as Holy Spirit. It's part of a song that we were singing this morning. The holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? When I first came to Vermont, I believe that the first song I shared with you was a song about an average child of God. Now, sometimes I'm misunderstood because I am a former musicologist and I love rock and roll, I love jazz, and I love folk music. Those are my primary musics. I'm only secondarily a sacred music lover. But please know that whenever a song is quoted, the spirit in me is the spirit of prayer. The song about the child of God that I share with you began with these words. It was, I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road. And I asked him, tell me, where are you going? And this he told me. He said, I'm going down to Yasgur's farm and I'm going to join in a rock and roll band. And I'm going to get back to the land and get my soul free. We are stardust. We are golden. We are billion-year-old carbon. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. I shared these words because the name of this song is Woodstock. I remember making a joke in the early days from the pulpit in the first days of the ministry here about having always wanted to live in the place where that great concert happened. It was a bad joke, admittedly, and we didn't know one another well, and the look on some of your faces was precious. The sort of, oh no, you've made a terrible decision. There's such gravity in the world today. There's so much weight and there's so much heaviness. It's so important to let ourselves be light, so important to let our minds be light, so important to let our souls be light, so important to let our hearts be light. That's what it says in the Christmas carol, right? Have yourself a merry little Christmas, let your hearts be light. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light and saw that the light was good, and separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day and darkness night. And the evening and the morning, and this was the evening and the morning of the first day. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was a new members meeting. And one of the people in that meeting asked a question. and made an observation, and I concur with this observation, that in many Unitarian Universalist churches, many Unitarian Universalist churches are open to the Holy Word from every faith, but less so from Christianity. Have you experienced that? Do you know what I'm talking about? So why do you think that is? I have a theory, but why do you think that is? Does anybody have an idea? Yes, yeah.
I think a lot of people come to Unitarianism having been wounded by Christianity in particular. At least that's what I like in my discussions with other Unitarian Universalists. I think that a lot of people come here because their church has hurt them.
Did everyone hear that? A lot of people come to Unitarian Universalist Church because they've been wounded by previous experience in Christianity.
Yeah.
I think that we use that language, thank you, and we use exactly that language. We were wounded by Christianity. When I was friends with a man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, his name is Marlon Lavinar. He said, what if we substitute bad theology for Christianity? You know, what if we say we were wounded by bad theology, as opposed to saying we were wounded by Christianity? I have met some of the most beautiful people in the world who would never wound us with their faith. You know, James Baldwin's father was a minister. I'm looking for that quote right now. James Baldwin thought that he could be a minister. He wanted to become a minister, but because his father was so good at extracting money from his congregation, he thought, you know, I know that I have this skill, but I don't want to use it. One of the things that Baldwin said, and I'm just not able to find it, but I think what he said was, I believe in a God that connects us and not in a God that separates us. I believe in a God that helps us to become the best that we can be, and not in a God that separates us from one another. We have so many rules and so many distinctions, and we make so much of those distinctions, even though I'm not sure that we should. There's the old joke that goes, a group of friends had gathered from various religious denominations and were seated in fellowship discussing the true meaning of Easter on one Sunday, when one Baptist said that I believe that we place too much emphasis on the chocolate bunnies and the rabbits and the colored Easter eggs. And I believe in something deeper than that. And someone said, me too, right? And that's also what I believe. And then it was a Methodist who said that, and the Lutheran said, me too, and the Catholic person said, me too, and the Nazarene said, me too. There's so much that we agree upon, and yet we fight so much with one another. How do we learn to loosen so that we can see one another face to face? There was a theologian in Unitarian Universalism named William Ellery Channing. Have you heard that name before? William Ellery Channing was one of the foremost ministers in the 19th century. He was born in Newport, Rhode Island. He was the son of William Channing and I can't remember his mother's name, Ellery, Mary Ellery. He was the grandson of William Ellery, who was one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. William Ellery Channing was also raised by a woman named Duchess, who was enslaved, and informed him about helped to shape his ideas of abolition. He was preaching, and he died before the Civil War. So the idea of free Africans was new, it was novel. It was conceivable, but distant. I would ask you to imagine what in our world right now is conceivable, but distant from us. What can we imagine in terms of human freedom and human peace? Anyway, when Channing wasn't always as widely as accepted as everyone would have you believe. Some people didn't like him, especially his contemporaries. There was one of his students, a younger guy named Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was inspired by him. Channing was one of the New England transcendentalists, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, who came behind him, really took what Channing did and took it further. Channing was becoming a minister, and he heard about this guy in England named Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and he went to see him because he wanted to learn from him. And Emerson was so excited to get there. And Samuel Taylor Coleridge was not that enthusiastic to see him. And Emerson asked about him, why are you so disheartened? Why is this, why are you not as enthusiastic as I am? And he said, it's the trouble with you Unitarian ministers, And Emerson interrupted and said, aren't you yourself a Unitarian minister? Which he said, yes, I am. But the problem with you American Unitarian Universalist ministers is that you take too much after Channing. Channing took from the Bible the good, but not the true. What does that mean? There were like 4 of them. I heard. I raise all this because coming up at General Assembly this year is a reconsideration of some of the language that we use that's central to Unitarian Universalism. We have the core values that we hold on to, which we know as the 7 principles. Those 7 principles were not Unitarian Universalist principles from time immemorial. They were crafted, or distilled, I should say, in 1985. They were voted into our theology by 5,000 people in Atlanta, Georgia, having twice passed the vote in 1984 and then again in 1985. Last year, in 2023, they voted to establish a new set of principles. And I have them written down for you, but I'm not going to go through them today. We don't have the time. What I thought was interesting about those principles when I was looking through them, I went back and found an old book. The name of the book is Unitarians Face a New Age. It was about what was new when this was written, which was 1936. So even though we're on to something new right now, we were dealing with something new back then as well. There weren't 7 principles that they were discussing back in 1936. There were 27 of them. So I want to ask you to do this one thing right now. Reach inside your order of service and find that green card. Okay, this is how it works at General Assembly. Let's try to rehearse it here. I'm going to call out these principles that they thought were important enough to vote upon in 1936, and let's waive if you agree that this is an important spiritual principle in your life, just wave. You can wave as often as you'd like, and there's no holding down. So I'm only going to ask for affirmative votes, and I won't be counting. So the first one is the free exercise of intelligence in religion. The free exercise of intelligence in religion. That sounds good. Okay. The sense of human brotherhood. I was waiting for a comment, I didn't get it. The struggle to create a just order. Okay. The obedience to conscience. The concern for the betterment of social conditions. Exercise of critical self-appraisal. Yeah. Conviction of infinite possibilities in human progress. That's encouraging. There's hope right there. Rationality of the universe and progressive discovery of truth. Okay. Adherence to and support of the Christian Church. I would affirm that. Release or expansion of the better self. a sense of beauty and reward of life of the spirit, identification of one's own fortunes with the fortunes of their fellow men. I'm using the language of 1936. Identification to one's own fortune, humility and reverence towards vaster forces in the universe. The use of scientific method in approaching religion. Belief in God. Interesting. Appreciation of prophets, saints, and sages from non-Christian religions. So my challenge to us will be to say that if there were maybe 3 flags for embracing the Christian church, if we want to understand what Unitarian Universalism is, it is not a dismissal of the Christian church in the embrace of everything else that we don't know about, right? It can act that way, we can act that way, but I think that's because of bad theology. I wonder if there's a way to heal what hurt us rather than dismiss the holy word that connects us to other people. And one of the reasons I say that is because right now, the word of Jesus and those good language kind of belongs to a political ideology. And it belongs that way because I think the progressive theologians aren't wresting it back. You know, some of the people who would abuse his name in the language of politics would never follow his principles in real life. So if we could try to cleave to the principles and to the ideas and not to the memory of the bad theology, we might make a way forward that's better for us. Because if you think about the nasty things Jesus said, there was zero is the right answer. It was 0, you know. And what a message! Doesn't it make sense that wise and thinking people would say, there's a story that we can use for the benefit of all? Now, I think that story changes sometimes. You know, it can become an imposition, right? Sometimes people want to say, like, you know, I see you and there's something wrong with you and I'm here to save you. Inside of Unitarian Universalism, we believe that every one of us is in control of the spiritual direction of our lives. Partly because that's true no matter where we are. That has to be true. Even when we give that allegiance over to some sort of leader, it's still us in charge. So I just wonder how we will make use of those ideas. Let's just complete the list one at a time. Search for integration of personality and inner wholeness and peace. Good. Conscious effort to follow Jesus. I didn't know that was coming. We'll get back to that one. In fact, the distinction that my teacher would use was like, we don't worship Jesus, but we follow him. It was a Jewish man who was my teacher who said that. Jesus was a Jew. If there are ideas, come on in. If there are ideas that are getting in our way, ideas that we're holding on to, that diminish the possibility of faith, let them go. Let nothing stand in your way. I'll close with this story. I was at Star Island once, and I was working, fixing a door. And this woman, who's actually a carpenter, it's kind of funny, but she was actually a carpenter, was helping me with the door, and she said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" And I said, "Oh my God." Right? Oh my God, that's hilarious. I said, the uses to which his name has been put, right? Think about the Crusades and the many people who, you know, suffered for the misuse of that word. And I rehearsed all those ideas for her. And she said, well, I was asking if you believed in Jesus. And I said, oh my God. So like, when I see the people who I know who have all of this opulence, who are degrading towards the poor, I wonder and identify with Christianity. I struggle because that's not the expression of the faith. And then she said, I said, do you believe? And very quietly I said, in my way, yes. You know. And she said, don't ever let anybody stand between you and the holy. And I learned a lot right then. So I don't know what our relationship should be or what your relationship should be. I only ask that when we think about what is possible for us, and the world needs what is best in us right now, let's think about what we can let go of to make our best step forward. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? May it be so and amen.